Ladies and gentlemen, pay attention. This is your boy, the coach from the WWE. I would like to welcome you to the very first wrestling podcast in the world to take you on a weekly deep dive into classic matches along with legends of the squared circle. Enjoy the discussion. Enjoy the back and forth. There's so much to get into. Ladies and gentlemen, this is The Payoff.
Welcome to an all-new episode of The Payoff. I'm Tom. That's Jeff. Jeff, how the hell are you doing?
2025, man, we're in it, kind of living it at this point. So that's always good. We've got, there's always something happening. We got the Rumble this week. And so, we're in February at this point, I say 2025. And so getting that, just big things happening. We're about to be at, Chamber and then the road to WrestleMania, we're practically on it with, some of the stuff happening. And so, yeah, just exciting times in wrestling. Who could not enjoy it? Yeah.
Yeah. What a time to be a fan. And it's funny because it's you scroll through Twitter or whatever, and it's obviously people have gripes and grievances. And I'm like, dude, I've been watching this stuff for 30 plus years. It has absolutely, in my mind, never been better.
Yep.
Okay. It's never been better. For so many reasons. Okay, this is Monday Night Wars for a 2-year stretch. But even then, and you've heard me say this, but you couldn't watch every pay-per-view unless you were willing to fork over $1,000 a year. Okay, so it was this weird thing where it's again, as great as the Monday Night Wars was, okay, I'm flipping channels. I probably am not recording two things on VHS and going back and watching them. So, the logistics of it were not easy, right? But you kind of hear stuff in school or you read stuff in a magazine. You'd order some pay-per-views or go to your buddy's house to watch some of them, but you wouldn't watch all of them. And they were Sunday nights. Yep. And, so again, it was just, and I don't know. I just think this is by far, by a mile, the best time to actually be a fan. Now, am I saying that everything is better now than it's ever been? No, you might like those characters more. You may have been more of a Hulk Hogan guy or an NWO guy or whatever, and that's fine. But the actual consumption of this, the quality of it, the quantity of it, how accessible it has never been better. And then you have the backstage stuff and the Twitter and the free pay-per-views on streaming. And it's just an awesome time to be a fan. It's you and I bag on AEW. Obviously, the storylines haven't been great. They've been struggling to make new stars, but it's still good. It's still really good. So it's I would never, even if I'm going to have grievances, I would never complain right now. I think wrestling's just awesome right now.
I will complain about the Rated R Superstar being called Cope, but that's a different story for a different time.
On my list for us to discuss.
We'll get there. Yeah, we will get there. That's okay. So, yeah. So, I'm right there with you.
Classic match, classic for what happens during this match. Any other reason why you chose this or just an obvious choice?
Yeah, Rumble week. Rumble week, things happening. This was one, again, it happens all the time. We have one of these matches where oh shit, why haven't we covered this? And so throw it on the list and do it. Obviously Rumble this week, kind of the anniversary on this one too, almost about 20, what is this? Almost 25-ish years. Yeah, 26. And so, yeah, just a good one. The overall, the card itself, not too bad, but yeah, this is just an exciting one to cover. Two All-Stars. Two All-Stars, two Hall of Famers, two of the best ever. Yeah.
Love it. Yeah, I'm pumped to cover this one, man. I think it's going to be a really good one. I don't think I've gone back and watched this match. It's just funny how there's certain matches that you remember the moment but forget the match. And it just came up the other day on a podcast I was listening to. It's like Kurt Angle and Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania 19 with the botched what's it called?
Shooting Star Press. Yeah.
Shooting Star Press. So he to the bot, right? Yeah. But like Kurt Angle's like, the match was incredible. He's like, nobody remembers it. They just come up to me and talk to me about that botch. So it's kind of like this match where we may watch and be like, wow, it was an incredible match, but all we remember is the backdrop on the casket. So I'm pumped to cover this one. Yep. Let's go ahead and get into the build.
Oh, it's time for the build.
All right, so we are at Royal Rumble 1998. We're in San Jose at the San Jose Arena where the Sharks play. 18,542 in attendance. We did a buy rate of 300,000 for this, January 18th of 1998. We got the back of Stone Cold's heads with a bunch of nails in it as the pay-per-view poster, which I always thought was funny. Let's get into the card here. We start off with Vader defeating Dustin Rhodes, kind of a modernized version of Goldust, and he's accompanied by Luna Vachon. So Vader's going to win that in just under 8 minutes. I know we've talked about this before, but man, if we could have gotten like in his prime Vader, and one thing I heard this recently, I thought it was brilliant, was imagine like 1990 Vader. And we've gone and watched some of that stuff, right? Just a badass, like moving around, doing all kinds of crazy stuff. Imagine 1990 Vader as a heel coming in against Hulk Hogan. Like that would have been awesome. All right. So we then get Max Mini, Mosaic, and Nova defeating Battle Line, Battalion.
Think so? Yeah. Battalion.
El Torito and Tarantula in a 6-man with Sonny as the special guest referee. So the minis, I guess is probably appropriate.
That's what it looks like. Yep.
Okay. The Rock is going to retain his IC title in 11 minutes against Ken Shamrock by disqualification. Always enjoyed their matches and their feud. Legion of Doom is going to defeat the New Age Outlaws by DQ in 8 minutes. So we get 2 DQs in a row. So far we've had Vader and Dustin Rhodes, a minis match, 2 DQ matches. Okay.
Sure.
In the Royal Rumble, Stone Cold Steve Austin wins and last eliminates The Rock. So it's kind of interesting. I mean, this is, a year before we got the first big Stone Cold Rock match, but we had those two as the final 2 in the Royal Rumble. So pretty obvious that Stone Cold was going to win this. Not necessarily a bad thing. Sometimes obvious is good. And then in our main event, we have Shawn Michaels, your WWF champion, against The Undertaker in a casket match. So, in the storied rivalry of Shawn Michaels and Undertaker, how do we end up with a casket match? And gosh, it feels like I don't want to say did this in reverse, but we already did a Hell in a Cell match. Now we're doing a casket match.
Right. Yeah, we kind of, like you said, the feud had been, intense up till this point. Actually, they had been intertwined a lot. It definitely was like, we sometimes have where they come out of nowhere, and this was definitely not the case with this one. And so, it was actually after SummerSlam of '97. That previous August, about 6 months prior to this, you had Michaels, who was the special guest referee between The Undertaker, who was the champ, and Bret Hart. He actually hit The Undertaker with a chair. He was supposed to hit Hart, and then he counted the pin to cost The Undertaker the championship. At that show. Then the first match between them really was at Ground Zero in Your House, would have been that September taking place. So that was a no contest, but you get interference from Triple H in China. Then we pick it up, of course, as we all know, Bad Blood, the first ever Hell in a Cell match, debut of Kane as well, too, giving the Undertaker the Tombstone Pile Driver on that one. Michaels picking up the win on that one. And so in order to kind of start mocking Taker, they would bring this casket to the ring, spray paint it with Degeneration X on it, stuff like that. But again, that was their thing for a while here. But they brought it out one of the weeks, opened it up, after they were kind of doing a promo on it, and Undertaker was actually inside of it, grabbed Michaels, kind of dragged him down into it. It was kind of a cool moment, like just kind of the cool promo. The shot's always very cool of it. And so want to go back and check out. And so, and then just really kind of interviewing during promos, kind of run-ins, stuff like that. But a big part of this was making sure that they didn't want DX to be a part of it. Undertaker had been warning him, stuff like that. And so you actually had the Kane helping the Undertaker a little bit as well, too, in the lead up to this. And so, you really had, so Undertaker not, solo, kind of coming to his side with all of this. And so, and it, just prior to the end of this, doing the fist up as they're kind of, or the raising of the fist as they're kind of up there at the top of the ramp in the lead up to this. And so, just a really interesting, like you said, we're working in reverse is a great way to put it. Of we had the Hell in a Cell, we had the debut of Kane, we had these guys kind of having really a 6-month feud up until this point. And then we get this match at Royal Rumble to kind of cap off. This is for the World Heavyweight Championship at this point. And like you said, this casket match.
You ready to do this?
Yeah, I am. This should be pretty cool, actually. I haven't seen this one in a while, but it's always good. Yep.
All right. Well, we are at the 2 hour and 21 minute mark of Royal Rumble 1998, season 11, episode 1 on Peacock. Royal Rumble 1998, 2 hour 21 minute mark. Jeff, are you ready?
I am ready. Let's do it.
All right. It's time for the payoff.
Ho! It's time for the payoff.
It's better than John Wayne's in movie shootouts. Michaels always rises to the occasion.
So,
to be
heel,
stopper,
cocky, Shawn Michaels, one of my favorite versions of Shawn Michaels.
I'm sure he's been a little upset about all this talk about Michaels.
And I think I like it even more now because you realize that that's just the way he was. Like, this is kind of a shoot, man. He was just a complete asshole at this point in his life, and obviously admits it. But it's like everything you see there was just him.
Yep.
Being on screen, who he was driving around. So, all right, we're off to a fast start. We got DX ringside. Great Shawn Michaels tights right here, just the classic red and black. I love it. They're going after it. It's funny. I mean, in the pantheon of top WWE feuds of all time, man, you probably have to put these guys in your top 5. I mean, you don't have to, but you just look at the number of matches that they had, and I'm sure this will be a good one, but so many great matches. Taker retires Shawn. They have the 2 WrestleMania matches. They have the Hell in a Cell match. Just a great overall feud for sure. Yeah.
So this was the little bit of history here for you in WWE, NXT, however you want to kind of label it. There have been 22 casket matches. The first being at Survivor Series 1992. This was the Undertaker defeating Kamala in about 5.5 minutes. This one, in regards to the timeline, this one would fall at number 8 actually in the number of casket matches that had taken place up until this point. So the concept. Oh yeah, that was. Brutal.
I didn't realize it happened this early in the match.
Casket. Remember.
Yeah, and so this was the spot where Michaels hurt his back. That looked like he took just a wild tumble Normally he would have landed on
power by
the
the
mat
Undertaker.
on the outside there. Oh yeah, you can tell he's
Michael's
feeling
lucky
that
he's even
one.
able to stand. Look at this.
I know it. Look at
Here's
this.
the replay of it.
He would have been lucky.
I don't know what he was. That was actually just a. I mean, I know it's hindsight, but it's just a really dumb thing to attempt. Because where was he gonna? I mean, I guess he was trying to throw him like completely over it.
Yeah, it looked like Taker or like the catch. He took like an extra step too, so I'm wondering if that kind of messed it up too. Oof.
Undertaker is just right now manhandling.
And so a little bit of trivia I'll give you here though. Do you know who the Undertaker was in the first 10 casket matches taking on somebody, but in match 11 it would have been the first match to not feature the Undertaker. It was on a SmackDown. Do you have any clue who could have been in that match?
I have no clue.
Time's up. You had Midian and Viscera defeating Triple H. And then 3 years later was the next one where you had Kane defeating Triple H. So the most recent ones have actually been on NXT, but the last one that Taker did was 2018 in Jeddah, defeating Rusev at the Greatest Royal Rumble.
I was just going to ask you that because that was originally supposed to be Chris Jericho.
Yes. Yep.
In that spot.
Yep.
I don't know exactly what happened, but yeah, that's right.
And the most recent one, actually, the first ever women's match, it was NXT actually back in October. Tatum Paxley defeating Wendy Chu, which did not know that, but there you go. So
okay.
There's been a few in Lucha Underground. Darby Allin has done most of the ones in All Elite Wrestling. So yeah, just a few in TNA as well too. I see Abyss actually had a bunch of them. So yeah. So a question for you here too. We've more recently in recent years rather, Rumble always goes last. This obviously match taking place after the Royal Rumble. I know sometimes the individual card every year kind of dictates what's going to happen here, but should the Rumble always be the main event?
Yeah, I think so. And I'll tell you that two thoughts on this. Number one is, I mean, I don't know what the plans are in the future. I would imagine Rumble becomes 2 nights.
Yeah.
I almost don't know how you wouldn't. I mean, it's pretty easy to book, right? I mean, women's Rumble 1 night, men's Rumble 1 night. You have 2 men's world champions. You'd make sure that each show had one of those defended. So you'd have 2 great world. You'd probably do the same with the women. So, I mean, you figure night 1 of WrestleMania or night 1 of Royal Rumble would have the women's Royal Rumble, a men's world title, a women's world title, and then, 2 or 3 more matches.
Yeah.
So it's not hard. I don't think it's hard to do at all. I actually think it's quite easy. You can always do the little trick they pulled at WrestleMania where, you had Cody, Seth, Rock, Roman. I mean, you had those guys on both nights, right? So like you could still do the both night thing where, night 1, we're determining who wrestles on night 2. Or night 1 of Royal Rumble has, a match to determine who's number 30 the following. I mean, there's ways you could get certain people onto both shows, or, the women's world champion participants are in the Rumble the other night. So again, I think that makes a lot of sense. The other thing I'll just throw out there, and I'm not necessarily suggesting it, but like if you did go to 2 nights, you could always do a 40-person Rumble like they did the 1 year. So like that's another way to, kind of beef it up. 2011, they did the 40 participants. So I don't know, just some thoughts there, but I think 2 nights for sure. And, that's an easy one to do. I actually think it's easier to do a 2-night Royal Rumble than a 2-night SummerSlam or, even a 2-night WrestleMania. Because it's just, I mean, you have those two major matches that are an hour plus built in. And within those matches, you can do surprises and comebacks and, retired people and everything else. I mean, there's just so much you can do in those. So it's not hard. Night one of the Royal Rumble with the Women's Royal Rumble, you bring a couple, Becky comes back and she's been gone for a year, or Charlotte or Trish, it's not hard to do things that at the end of the night, you're like, wow, that was an awesome show.
Yeah. Well, and I wonder, part of me wonders, okay, like, do you do like all right, you win night one, the Rumble, you get your title shot on night two. And like you kind of do it that way for like maybe the men, or maybe you do have the men's Rumble that first night, and then you get the title shot the second night. Maybe the women open the second day or something like that, and so, or even main event, depending on what's happening. I think it depends on the storyline that's happening, and so I think I did see, though, it was interesting. I felt like there was, I don't know if you saw it too, like a decent amount of backlash in regards to them taking some of these shows to 2 nights. It was at least to the point where I saw enough chatter on like Reddit and Twitter and stuff like that I was like, interesting. Like they like 2-night Mania, but now they don't want 2-night Rumble. They don't want like, so some of the, I guess, so there is a line for some of the more hardcore fans. And they just
so hold on. One thing, man, you can tell how much pain Shawn's in, like just crazy, but they're having a hell of a match. What are the biggest critiques on a 2-night Royal Rumble, 2-night SummerSlam, 2-night anything?
Let me see what I can pull up here.
And as you're looking, because I'm really curious. For me personally, and again, attending it could be more expensive. It's another night in the hotel. So I can understand that. Hey, if I go to I've never been to a 2-night WrestleMania. I've only been to 1 night. And so they were 7 hours and they were long days, long shows, but you saw everything there. They did everything, big cards, long night. Okay. So I get attending it, but man, I'll tell you, like, as a viewer, what a great weekend, right? I mean, it's like, hey, Saturday night, I got 3.5 hours of wrestling for free. Following night, 3.5 more. I mean, guess what? NFL, there's games on Saturday, games on Sunday, games on Sunday or games on Monday. I mean, I don't think it's like a big ask for a viewer to do 3.5 hours on back-to-back nights. And I love it, man, to like sit on your couch and have your favorite beverage or throw some burgers on the grill and watch wrestling 2 nights in a row and have 3.5 hours 2 nights versus 6 hours on 1 night. I find it to be better. And the beauty of the streaming is if, for whatever reason, Saturday night, I've got plans. Great. Then wake up Sunday morning, fire up your coffee maker and sit there and watch wrestling. And that's fun too. So I personally see zero downfall, again, unless you're talking about attending, but I fly in Saturday, I go to the show Saturday night, I do something fun in that city Sunday, I go to the show again Sunday night, I get out Monday, or, and I haven't made this decision yet, but like I was even thinking about maybe going up to WrestleMania and just going Saturday. So like do the fan stuff all day Saturday, meet the legends, go to the show Saturday night, and then fly home Sunday morning. So like, you don't have to go to both nights unless you really, really want to, or you just go to Sunday because, your favorite wrestlers wrestling there. Like if I was, I kind of wish I would have, but if you're a big Stone Cold fan, you go to Dallas Saturday, you watch the Stone Cold match Saturday night, you fly out Sunday morning. So you got to see him and, so what are you seeing though? I'm curious.
Yeah. So out here, so the current kind of rumors out there is 2026 2026, we will see the 2-night Royal Rumble. In 2027, we will see the 2-night Money in the Bank. Some of the arguments that are out here, it takes away from WrestleMania being special. It's really just kind of a greed type thing, is what they're saying. Like, TKO doesn't need to do it, but on the flip side, they're saying, like, but you see musicians book 2-3 nights all the time in cities. Sure. So are you opposed to that? Like, it doesn't take away from anything. It's an access thing more than anything. And yeah, you're seeing two different shows. Like, you go to a concert, yeah, they're probably playing most of the same set list, or a little, maybe, they might mix it up a little bit, but at the same time, like, it does give you that kind of extra access to what's happening. A big argument.
And I know, I'll use Metallica for instance. They fill arenas, or they fill stadiums back-to-back nights, and they do two completely different set lists. So that's the beauty of wrestling, right? Is that you have, two different cards with two different sets of talent on them. Right. And they have the roster to do it. I mean, yes. They easily have the roster to do it right now. Is that going to last forever? Maybe, no, because they built their own farm system. They're going after the college kids. They're doing the NIL stuff. They're, plugged into the indies. Because wrestling's become so popular, guess what? More people want to get into wrestling. There's more wrestling schools now. So theoretically, I think you have the talent to do these 2 nights. And could you get to 2-night Money in the Bank, 2-night Elimination Chamber? I say, why not? And the greed thing, well, if you can fill an arena 2 nights in a row, you do it. And the flip side of the greed is, you could do 1 night and charge double. I mean, they're like, I don't think it's greedy at all. I mean, it's supply and demand. You're going to charge
some of the other arguments
you can charge
for it as well too. Is it's one, like you just said, like, you get some younger stars in there. Maybe you see some belts that aren't necessarily defended. Like, you're not always seeing the tag belts defended because there's 5 other shows or 5 other matches and stories that are happening that are kind of going to that. But a big argument for it here too is 2 60+ minute matches in that same format. It's tough. Like, if you're there live, like, that's draining to, like, you figure one has to open the show, one has to close the show, because you can't do them back to back in any way. And so let them shine a little bit, get those entrances, like you said. Okay, like, you're going to have no problem finding 30, maybe even 35 people to come in and do that Royal Rumble, but also, like, give it a little bit more, because we are like, okay, by the end of it, and it's a 60-minute match, you've forgotten a lot of that's just how it is, but you've forgotten a lot of maybe what happened in that first Rumble. You've forgotten some of what's going on in that type of stuff. So to spread it out, like, I think Rumble makes more sense to be 2 nights over Money in the Bank, but also, like, look at it from the business side of it. What are their biggest money-making events here? There's the great shot of a Taker grabbing Michaels by the dick and throwing him back in the ring from the casket.
Michaels knocked over the top rope from the outside back in. The Undertaker still hasn't from the situation. He's not out yet.
So yeah, that's their big money-making night. So
I was just going to say, I think this has been a really good match.
Back up.
The crowd. The crowd's kind of dead for it, and maybe that ties in with what you were just saying, which is, like, it's just exhausting, because this is following the Rumble. You have Austin win, you had 3 faces of Foley, some surprises, and then you got this match, and I just feel like it's a little dead.
Mm-hmm. It may be, yeah, absolutely.
But you're right. You in one night, Women's Rumble, Men's Rumble, at least 1 world title shot, if not a couple. It's just a lot, man.
Well, and then you figure there's a storyline match, where they're just trying to move a story forward or something like that. And then, throw a women's match in there. But then, like I said, then you're throwing it in there. It doesn't feel right. Like, maybe do you have night 1 be the women, night 2 be the men? Oh, Jesus.
Right on the Undertaker. In the casket. Well, they're both in the casket. What?
Both in the casket?
Both men are in the casket. Michaels and the Undertaker. What is that?
don't think they know the rules necessarily. Hebner not really sure what to do here.
Wow.
Michael's climbing out. Great shot there. Michael's trying to get clawed back into the casket. Lid shut again.
Yeah, I mean, and
so we
the
don't know
thing
what's
with these
happening
rumbles
there.
too
Yeah.
is that you can make them however short or long you want. I mean, the longest is an hour and 10 minutes, but you can kind of manipulate the card however long you want those to be.
Yeah, we always see it after the fact. Like, what was the actual time between nine? Was it actually 90 seconds or not? I actually think this last year it was the closest to 90 seconds it's ever been. But I mean, you just do the math on that. That's a lot. Like, it really is. And so, and I can't imagine, like, there's always a wrestler that goes 50 minutes plus, if not a couple of them. And so, like, that's tough. And so to kind of have to do, I can't imagine, like, there's just no way. Huge choke slam from the Undertaker there.
So there's two answers to this. Who has the longest amount of time in the Rumble ever?
Like, in one match?
Yeah.
I would have thought it would have been Ray.
Oh,
but
geez.
then, yikes!
Can you believe it?
Tombstone into the casket.
What is this? Wait a minute. There's Road Dogg.
New Age Outlaws. Oh, and a bunch of other guys coming to attack the Undertaker.
Like
so the two longest times, technically the longest is Daniel Bryan, but that was in the Greatest Royal Rumble with the 50. He was in there for an hour and 16 minutes. But then in your traditional Rumble, Gunther in 2023 was an hour and 11 minutes.
And then it's got to be Ray after that. Yeah. Or Ray, like I said, I knew Ray was closest.
Lights off?
Here comes Kane. It's got to be.
So Kane coming out to help the Undertaker. What's the shortest amount of time ever in the Rumble?
Oh boy, they always try and do it, and I never know. Was it what's his name? Santino for a while.
1.9 seconds in 2009.
And I think Chelsea Green has it for the women, I believe. Yeah, and so I forget, but yeah.
Speaking of Kane, he has the record for most career eliminations with 46.
Oh, wow. Okay. It's a good trivia fact right there. Yep.
So he's coming out to help the Undertaker. There we go. He's attacking everyone. Who's the oldest winner of the Royal Rumble ever?
Oh, the oldest winner? Oh, good question. Orton? I don't know.
Vince McMahon, 53 years old in 1999. Who's the youngest winner? Brock Lesnar, 2003, 25 years old. In this match, on screen right now is the first woman to ever enter the Men's Rumble, China in 1999.
Kane has saved the Undertaker. Kane has saved his big brother. We thought it might happen.
Did they miss the pyro there? I don't know.
Yeah, I must have missed the pyro.
Damn it, quick! What?
Now Kane attacking the Undertaker.
I think they missed the pyro there or something. That
sure
was
looks
weird.
like it.
And so beating him, Taker confused. Yep.
Number 27 is the most lucrative spot ever. Big John Studd, Yokozuna, Bret Hart, and Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Okay,
there you go.
That's it. It's shut.
The Undertaker in the casket. Michael shut the lid.
Week of, we do have to remind ourselves to do our poll. I'm good for $20 to the entrance this year. So
yeah,
we'll have to.
I'll coordinate that.
Yeah, make sure you do that. Yep.
Okay.
For those at home, we got a group of us. We each get a couple numbers, and then you get a little bit of the pot, if I remember right. Yep. So
I made a graphic and everything.
You did. It was really nice. Yeah, you made sure everybody knew. I kept pulling it up. I remember my wife was confused why. I was like, "This is what we do. You bet on squares and football and Super Bowl, and then you do this." Yeah. Now they're wheeling the casket up. Or Kane is rather wheeling the casket with the Taker in it up to the top of the ramp. Yep.
So they're going to light the casket on fire to go off the air, which I guess this makes sense. It'd be tough to do this and then clear it out and start the Royal Rumble afterwards.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. Here comes with the gasoline and axe. Yep.
So many iconic Royal Rumble moments, but man, for me, it's just tough to beat Edge's surprise entrance.
Yeah, that was just great. Yeah, that one, you figure Cena's quick return was always a big deal, but yeah, Edge finally coming back was just wild. Yep.
That was just because it was such a secret. It was so good. All right, well, we'll keep this on, but let's go ahead and head into the aftermath.
Ho! It's time for the aftermath.
All right, so what'd you think?
It's good. Like I said, the match, it was actually a really, really good match until the end. I would have liked to have seen just a clean winner, but oh boy, we're watching now. You got that axe a little bit too heavy through the lid. But anyways, yeah, I thought the matches, they were working hard. I'm not surprised by that at all. Like, obviously, it's Michaels and The Undertaker. That's what I would expect. And so kind of doing what they do and kind of out there. And so it just, impressive to see that. Yeah, I thought it was really good. Just dousing the casket, with gasoline, lighter fluid, whatever. Yep. It was a lot of lighter fluid. They're just kind of standing around, like it's like pooled on the ground and shit too. Like I missed. Did he roll out? Would it have been? It had to be when it was right next to the ring. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess he was. Yeah, he would have rolled out he'd be under the ring right now. It's kind of funny how they had all the stuff taped on the ground.
Yeah.
All right. So what happens after this?
So this one's a Michaels.
I'm curious how this was reviewed.
Yeah, so like you said, it was interesting. It was you kind of had to go back and watch it again, but it was his tailbone that clipped the part of the casket as he went kind of flying over it. It was very early in the match. It was like the first 2-3 minutes where it happened, and I was with you. I thought it was closer to the end, but it was right at the start where it kind of happened. And so herniated 2 discs in his back. It crushed a third, kind of forced him to retire after WrestleMania. As we know, there was a one-off match with Triple H at the 2002 SummerSlam, making a full-time return at that point and kind of happening and doing that. So on the flip side, The Undertaker, it wouldn't actually come back until WrestleMania. A couple months later, defeated Kane in that one. They ended up having, of course, one of my favorites, the Inferno match at that point, and kind of working, the formation of the Ministry of Darkness. And so this is also the best way to put it, the last time that the two would take or have a match together until the WrestleMania 25 and 26, where you had the streak versus the career. And so just kind of good stuff overall. On the flip side, this one, so it was interesting. Well, PWI 1998, Michaels was 49, Undertaker was 5. Feels very very low for Michaels, rather. So this was voted the best match of the night. Oddly enough, the minis match was the second best match of the night. They actually both got a decent amount of stars on that one. But on the flip side, this was the 5th worst match of the night, getting a few votes for that. The Royal Rumble kind of came in the middle ground on that one. So interesting. And so this is from the torch on this one. Real good work by both. Michaels in particular. Michaels took one incredible bump early, taking a backdrop over the top rope and cracking his lower back on the casket as he went over. Lighting lid on a fire as showing off the air. The match itself was really good, but it was taken down by the finish. The torch gave this one 3.5 stars. The Observer newsletter, it was tough to live up to the Hell in the Cell standards. The match probably sounds better on paper than it was in reality. Not nearly a match of the year candidate, but good action and storyline, 3.25 stars. So you got 3.25 from the Observer, 3.5 from actually that's flipped. Yeah. 3.5 from The Observer 3.25 from the Torch. Where are you ranking this one?
I mean, I'll give it a 7. It was good. I mean, the match was really good. The finish, look, we're building to WrestleMania. I mean,
Yep.
so we need to keep the title on Shawn so that Steve Austin can beat him. We need to advance the Kane and Undertaker storyline. So, I mean, this match was a vehicle to get us to WrestleMania. It did its purpose. But, as a standalone, the finish was, I mean, it was, and I didn't even, I also didn't think the Kane, and part of it was the pyro not going off, but it's like, he clears everyone out and then he beats up his brother. I don't know. Like, I mean, I feel like there could have been a bigger unveil or way of doing it. Like, almost like he is choking both guys and then he lets go of Shawn. And I don't know, something that was a little more dramatic.
Yeah, you almost wonder, like the Hell in a Cell, the bar was almost too high, so they had to figure out a way to kind of get past that hump. Like I said, I feel like, yeah, like a 7 is, I'm comfortable there. I think any more than that, like you start comparing to some of the other matches and they aren't just up to that caliber. So that's kind of really tough to kind of take that approach and kind of deal with that. Yeah, so I'm right there with you with the 7, but like I said, it's hard when you had the Hell in a Cell match was, the match before this. Like it's difficult. So they had to have a funky finish. You had to have Kane involved. You had, that there was just so much that happened in that one that bar was just too high to kind of get anywhere near what this one was. Yep.
I think it was a good one. I told you heard my reaction. I didn't realize that injury happened at the very beginning of the match. And
Yep.
I know it gets talked about, but it's like for him to have finished this match and then for him to go on to WrestleMania.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know. I mean, anyone that wants to say, oh, he was, I mean, this is why guys get addicted to painkillers.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah,
I never,
especially in this day and age. Yeah.
I never fault these guys for the lifestyle they lived. I mean, the pain pill. I mean, to look at a Kurt Angle or a Shawn Michaels and go, oh my goodness, how could they have done all those painkillers, bro?
Because they were killing themselves.
Watch what just happened. Yeah,
yeah,
and they didn't get paid unless they worked. And there weren't the protocols that are in place now. And we didn't know what we know now about any of this stuff. So, man, it was just again, another takeaway from this. So that was fun. I'm glad we covered that. What do we have next week?
Yeah, we got an interesting one. Kind of I say it's a dark match, but not really. It is on some old VHS and DVDs, but we got a Wrestle Challenge from 1994. We're looking at the Hart Brothers versus the Steiner Brothers, and so should make for an extremely interesting match here. Like I said, it's a long one. Two tag teams in their heyday, and so it should be a lot of fun though.
Love it, man.
So with that, let's send them home happy.
Well, we appreciate everyone listening, and we'll see you next week on an all-new episode of The Pan.